Hello and welcome to another edition of Trade Talk. What a massive weekend of footy it was. Easter weekend of footy. Tom, great to see you again.
Great to be here, yes. Second week in a row in this seat, this side of you.
Are you getting comfortable?
Don't know about that, but you're doing your best to make me feel comfortable. What a huge weekend it was. We saw some big drifters and firmers all across Betfair in the AFL. We're talking premiership markets, top 4, top 8, Brownlow. Lots of action. It started Thursday night, and what a match that was. Brisbane, the topsy-turvy season continues, Karl. They rolled the premiership fancies in Collingwood.
Collingwood are defeatable. Right? It's something that not a lot of punters thought would happen because they seemed invincible, but Brisbane had their measure, which was a little bit surprising. Do you agree?
Yeah, it was. I gave them a good push last week's show as well because they've got such a good record against Collingwood, and they continued that. Collingwood's defence is fantastic. They run off their players and drive a lot of forward entries off their defence. But I just thought they were a bit susceptible once Brisbane kicked the ball forward really quickly and quick, fast ball movement, handballs forward, long kicks forward, really put some pressure on Collingwood's defence. And we see Dacos, he's so good at peeling off and running, but he was actually, Zorko took advantage of that, his run on the other side and made him a bit more accountable. So really interesting to see how teams learn from what Brisbane did against Collingwood.
I know that you had you gave Lachie Neale a bit of a plug and you said if Brisbane can win that game, you'd be keen to bet into Lachie Neale for the Brownlow medal. How did that go for you?
He wasn't great. I think not Zorko. Who was the forward? The forward who kicked a lot of goals for Brisbane. I thought Charlie Cameron was exceptional. Cam Rayner was the player I was talking about. He was best on ground. He was enormous in that first half as well. So Cam Rayner probably best on. Charlie Cameron was good. Dacos kicked goals, racked up the possessions again. He'll probably pole. He might get the one in a losing side there. The Brownlow's shaping up really interestingly.
Yeah, well, that's a good outcome for Brisbane. A lot of their star players playing good games, but St Kilda still undefeated. Tom, Carlton undefeated. Tom, Adelaide have been a bit of a mover, and Brisbane certainly flexed their muscles.
The biggest loser would have been Richmond. They showed really good glimpses against Bulldogs and dominated at certain stages. Then Bulldogs kept fighting and came back and won. They've got some massive injuries. Obviously, Tom Lynch is out. Nankervis is out. They're under the pump, and they've been big drifters in the premiership market. And the match of the round was Sydney-Port Adelaide. What a match that was. Florence ball goes a foot further. Then Ken Hinkley comes under the gun. It's amazing that coaches with a foot or a few centimetres can either be under the gun or safe for a certain period of time. But what a match that was.
Yeah, well, the early celebration from, who was it, Callum Mills,
doesn't Florent on the ground celebrating.
doesn't look good, but that's footy. It's good drama for the game. So just
on that, Karl, Port Adelaide matched $38 max odds as well during the match. Sydney were matched at $1.02. There was 2,500 matched at $1.02 and 40,000 matched under $1.20 there for Sydney. So a few people got burnt, and then congratulations to the person out there that took Port at $38.
You have AFL insights up to wazoo. You've started on fire, Tom. I'm loving this from you.
Bit of research, mate.
Well done, mate. That's what we've come to know from you. Let's talk about last week's show and a couple of trading tips that we sent out. Interestingly, Carlton have drifted for the premiership market when they beat North Melbourne convincingly. So we suggested get on Carlton at 8+, given their next few weeks are going to be easy in the fixture. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. Jeremy Cameron, 50 plus during the week. 65s you could get it at one stage. Now into $25, Tom. We've given Jeremy Cameron a massive push. So going to talk about him a little bit later. And Lace St Kilda, you said it might be a week early because obviously they played Gold Coast and won again. They're undefeated. Are you going to be laying St Kilda again this week?
I am. I think they've got to be respected now because they do have an easy draw. They play North Melbourne, West Coast, and Hawthorn twice. So they do have an easy draw, but their last 4 games are pretty tough, Carl. So I think they play 4 fancies in Richmond will be better in that by around 22. I think they play them, or 21 late in the year. Richmond will be at full strength, you would have thought. Yeah, they're probably my hold for this week now. Done a bit more research on their draw. They do have an easier draw, but they're short enough. The big movers, Carl. You mentioned Carlton drifting. That was probably on the back of Brisbane being a big firmer, and Geelong coming out, and what they did in the last half and that third quarter was outstanding. 10 goals straight and kicked 12 in a row against Hawthorn in that last half. It was the Geelong of old, back to their best. What do you make of that performance? Because they're up against Hawthorn, who weren't expected to do much, and Hawthorn, their arch rivals, were pretty good early, competitive early, probably should have been further in front early, and then Geelong just turned up at half-time and annihilated them.
I think the performance says a little bit more about Hawthorn's endeavour in the first half. They were excellent for a young team as well. They were running the footy, but as young teams do often, they lack performance after the second half. Maybe they fatigued.
Yep.
And Geelong, as they do, they're a fantastic football side. They're still ironing out some stuff, maybe still suffering a little bit of a premiership hangover. But as we said last week, and we looked at the ladder predictor, they were $10.50 to win the premiership. They've now shortened back into around that $8 mark. So Geelong still certainly a team that all AFL teams should fear. They may not be winning, but they are still playing some pretty good football. It's about linking that all together into a 4-quarter performance. And obviously, they're a great side, reigning premier. They've got a great coach. So, yeah, we can't rule them out at all, especially, in the first 4 rounds of the year.
Yeah, spot on. Just looking at the premiership market now, Melbourne are favourites at $5.30. They firmed marginally. Collingwood $5.50 out to $6.60 after the weekend. Brisbane were a firmer, $11 into $8.20. Carl, Geelong $11.50 into $9. Sydney, they drifted $11.50 out to $12.50. The two biggest movers, Adelaide, I said last week, they were $460 when they were 0-2. They firmed into 110 when we recorded the show last week, so massive move, 460 to 110. Then into 85 prior to the weekend, and now $65. So in the space of a week and a half, 2 weeks, they've been 460 into $65, Carl. Unbelievable. St Kilda, 30 into $17.50.
Some massive moves there on the Betfair Exchange, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about market moves, and this is the Market Watchdog segment. You've given us a couple of moves there. It'd be good to talk about the Brownlow medal. Obviously, we'll get to Jeremy Cameron, but a couple of the big moves in the market. Josh Kelly, 150 into $90. He had another fantastic game on the weekend. Tim Kelly, 150 into 110. I know West Coast got beaten, quite easily, but he had a fantastic game, a couple of goals to go with 30-plus disposals. But the big one is Jeremy Cameron, 65 into 27, and he had the third biggest change in implied probability. What do you think, Tom?
He's literally kept him in it. Against Carlton, he was unbelievable. He's averaging 4.5 goals a game, Carl. He could kick 100 goals if he keeps that up. He was superb. I'm on him at 110, so I'm cheering him home. I have laid off already, but I got him for a nice result already, which is the beauty of trading. Carl, Dacos continues his run, and you go to betfair.com.au/hub and the Brownlow medal predictor. Our man Joel Cashman's got him polling in all 4 games, and probably in a losing side. He had 37, 38, kicked a couple of goals. He might get the 1 vote as well. He's continued to firm. He's into $6.20, which is unbelievable to think of prior to this
second
season.
Year player, Tom. That is absolutely unbelievable.
First ever to win a Brownlow in his second year if he does it. We've seen Chris Judd win it in his 3rd year, one of only 2. But Dacos. Unbelievable move. Clayton Oliver had a good game. Petrarca had a good game as well in their big victory over the West Coast Eagles. Oliver, $8 into $6.80. Bontempelli about the right price. Cripps firmed, 14s into 12s, and he's got a great record against Adelaide. I think he's polled 11 votes in their last 6 games, Carl. So against the Crows, keep an eye on him for the Brownlow.
100%, Tom. Let's get into the Brownlow predictor, and I'm keen to just ask you, what is our Brownlow predictor and how does it work?
Yeah, it offers game-by-game analysis and vote predictions basically on every match, Carl, throughout the whole year. We've got a rundown of all the matches. Joel Cashman, our man, our Betfair Hub contributor, he does the analysis. He takes into account all things AFL votes, Herald Sun votes as well, when he watches all the games. So
the coaches' votes, obviously.
Coaches' votes. He takes all that into account and then comes up with his predicted scores or votes and adds it all up. It's all there with the back and lay columns as well. So you can head over to the Betfair Hub, just Google Brownlow medal predictor, and it's all there. He's got Nick Dacos on 8.5 votes, clearly ahead of Petraka and Oliver on 6.5 each of 2. Chad Warner, Jeremy Cameron next, and Tim Taranto, a bit of a surprise there as well, on 5.5 votes.
And obviously our guy down there, Jeremy Cameron, predicted to have six votes at this stage of the year.
He
and
came 8th in the Brownlow last year, Jeremy Cameron. He's one of only 2 or 3 Geelong players that have probably improved. It just need, like, if they were winning their first 3 or 4, first 3 games, he would have polled through the roof, but he'd probably get 3 against Carlton.
Let's talk about a couple of players here, Tom. And one I want to ask you about is Darcy Parish. Now, I know that his odds have really been sustainable over the last couple of weeks, but Joel Cashman has him polling in 4 of the 4 games this year, similar to Nick Dacos. But you can get $36 about him on the Betfair Exchange. How do you feel about Darcy Parish?
Yeah, when Essendon are winning, he's playing well. He had such a phenomenal season last year. I think he had 38 or 40 odd possessions in an Anzac Day and didn't get it. I think Ginnivan got the votes there amazingly and won the medal. But he's a good player. He's been consistent at the start of the year. I'm not sure Essendon will win enough games at the back end of the year. That's my concern with him. But he's clearly going well and in for a good year. The other one from Essendon, Zach Merritt, he's polled in 3 of the 4 matches as well. He's having a good year. So they might take a few votes off each other.
In terms of Darcy Parish, I mean, he's only 3 votes away, or a 3-vote game away from leading the Brownlow, and you can get $36 about him on the Betfair Exchange.
It was a massive move him last year as well, mid-year. He came in from 50s into about $20. Strung a few good matches together. That's the thing. I think the market's a bit too at the top, especially Nick Dacos. He seems short enough. He's got to do it for 23 rounds of the year, Carl.
100%, Tom. Now, you've already spoken about Christian Petrarca. He's in second with 6.5 votes. Clayton Oliver, equal as well, 6.5 votes. But you're getting $14.50 for Christian Petrarca. So out of the 2, if you needed to pick a Melbourne player, Christian Petrarca looks the value there. Second in the Brownlow and $14.50. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he's the value for sure. Clayton Oliver just polls for fun. He's a good poller. He's so consistent. He's in and under. They take votes off each other. And a couple of years ago, they were talking about Gawn and those 2 taking votes off each other, but they continually poll well. I'd be on Petrarca now at the $14.50 compared to Clayton Oliver at $7.20. The Brownlow Ladder Predictors got him on the same amount of votes. Interesting one, Jordan Dawson. We didn't even have him in the market prior to this weekend. He was clearly best on ground for the Crows. He's been injected in the midfield. He kicks goals. He wasn't in a lot of markets. He won the Showdown medal controversially, and it's really interesting to see if he actually gets a Brownlow vote in round 3 in that Showdown medal, because he clearly wasn't the best 2 or 3 on the ground. But we see the umpires are swayed by the medalist as well, which is amazing. Adelaide, the Showdown medal, and the Q Clash are the 2 that have really good records of winning the medal and getting 3 votes.
As is any game, we're going to have to dig into the archives and see if there's been any player that hasn't received the 3 votes after winning a medal.
I did some stats on it last year. I'll drum them up for next week's show, mate.
Looking forward to it. The other one, just quickly, I mean, Charlie Curnow was absolutely amazing on the weekend, and Jack Sinclair has been a revelation for St Kilda. He continues to improve. We've got the predictor's got Jack Sinclair polling in 3 games, one 1-vote game and 2 2-vote games. He's got 5 votes predicted to this point, and he's currently $200 on the exchange. So there's certainly a trading opportunity there. If you think his form's going to continue to sustain, then $200 for 5 votes right now. Surely he's going to shorten after another 3-vote game significantly.
The rising star, Carl. 2 absolute jets, Ashcroft and Sheasel. Sheasel's now at a favourite. He was $3.25 when we did the show last week. He's come into $2.16 favourite. He's continually getting possessions. It's going to be a great battle throughout the year. Great trading prospect. You can just chip away at those 2 prices. They're both over $2.16 for Sheasel and $2.20 for Ashcroft. It's going to be a great race.
It's funny to say that it's a 2-horse race, considering how many. I haven't seen a year where so many rising stars were playing such good footy. They're playing well all over the comp.
It is amazing.
It's funny to say that it's a two-horse race, considering that, and that just goes to show how good Sheasel and Ashcroft are. They're absolute standouts, and they're going to be generational players, and we got 2 of them
Mitch
going
Owens,
around.
in great form. Ruben Jimby from West Coast, he's in superb form. Even Adelaide's father's son, Michelini's playing exceptional football. So there's some guns out there.
Cam McKenzie from Hawthorn, Ollie Hollands,
Philippou.
Lockie Cowan, Philippou.
Just the names keep going. And Sheasel and Ashcroft, who would have thought any other year these players like Mitch Owens would be short, very short, but they're up against some absolute jets.
Unbelievable. We're going to be looking forward to seeing all these players, really at the top of our Brownlow markets in the next couple of years. But Tom, let's head to the Brownlow. Not the Brownlow predictor. We've done that. The ladder predictor. Do you want to just give us a quick recap on what the new ladder predictor is on the Betfair Hub?
Yeah, basically it takes into account all teams' form and the way they're basically their fixture. So it predicts a certain percentage of whether they'll make the top 4, top 8, and their current premiership price, and it factors in everything from like Brisbane, if they were to make finals, they need to secure a home final, and it factors that in as well. So it's amazing tool, and it's currently got Melbourne clear favourites at $3.18 at the moment. So they've got 12% predicted edge there on Melbourne at $5.10, the Betfair market at the moment. Collingwood, $7.25, currently $6.40, and Geelong, $8.55 right on. So it's a great tool. Top 8, top 4, all on the Betfair Hub AFL Ladder Predictor.
So the ladder predictor is predicting a couple of things and potentially pushing people towards making a couple of bets. Melbourne is one of them. Their rated price off their next couple of rounds and what they've done so far, they've shortened again to $3.18. But you can get $5.10 on the Betfair Exchange, and that's a 12% edge. An interesting one there is Sydney, who are also value according to the predictor. $8.73 as a rated price, but you can get $13 on the exchange. Are there any teams, other teams that have caught your interest there, Tom?
No, I think Melbourne are clearly the bet. Collingwood, I think they'll beat St Kilda this weekend, and they might shorten on the back of that. So I could potentially, I know the predictors got them slightly longer than the current odds, but I could potentially back Collingwood at the moment based on the fact that I think they'll beat St Kilda on Saturday. Richmond
have some injury woes. Obviously, you said Nankervis. Look, Tom Lynch has also got some tribunal issues.
Broken foot too.
Coming up this week. So he's definitely going to miss a few games, and he's having a fantastic season. But Richmond there is rated at a 14.45 chance, and maybe that'll change once the data comes through that those players are missing out. But $26 on the exchange. I just wanted to mention Richmond play Sydney and Melbourne in the next 2 weeks, and maybe a bit of education for trading punters that want to have a look at those markets. So Richmond, 2 things can happen. They lose those 2 games, they'll obviously drift in the premiership market. But they win those 2 games, and they are going to firm significantly because people will think Richmond are the real deal. Now, we're not going out.
I don't know if they're going that well. That's the problem. I don't think they can win both games.
Yes. So the funny thing about Richmond is historically they always improve as their season goes on. They know when to peak at the right time. We talk about horse racing and the really good trainers know how to get their horses peaking for their grand finals. That's Damien Hardwick. He is arguably the best coach in the AFL, and he can get his team up and about. And if he does, sort of later in the season, and get them playing well against the big teams, if they're beating Sydney and Melbourne...
Sydney are beatable. Melbourne, I don't think they could get near them without Nankervis and Lynch.
But we'll be looking at Richmond. Look, imagine if they get a win against Sydney there, obviously on neutral turf. Look for their odds to shorten significantly in the premiership market. And I think they could be still a bit of value, even if they have some injury problems. It could leave some value there for punters. But Tom, let's head to my new favourite segment. That's buy, hold, and sell. I want to know who you're buying this week.
Collingwood, I think they should win and shorten for the premiership market. I think they'll beat St Kilda. I think it's Sunday. I think I said Saturday earlier. I think it's Sunday. So I think they'll beat St Kilda, and I'm happy to be on them. Last week, I actually bought Brisbane, and as I said, they lost 2 games at the Gabba last year, Brisbane. So just back them when they're at home, and they've got a good record against Collingwood. But on Collingwood this week.
I'm going to buy Darcy Parish for all the reasons we said before. He's polled in 4 games according to the Brownlow predictor now, and still a massive price. 1 more 3-vote game, and you've got to think that his odds are going to shorten into less than $20. So yes, I'm definitely from a back perspective buying Darcy Parish again. No reason to jump off. and hopefully maybe sell him in a couple of weeks when when I think his price has gotten shortened enough. But Tom, who are you holding on?
Adelaide and Carlton, Thursday night. Adelaide $2.10, Carlton $1.89. Huge match. Adelaide have got a pretty tough next 4 weeks. They need to win this match to be a top 8 chance, and it's almost a season-defining match for Adelaide. And Carlton have got an acid test home ground or against a home team, sellout crowd, first day of gather round. It's a huge match for Carlton, huge match for Adelaide. It's what I'm looking forward to most, and I'm just holding on those two teams to see what happens on Thursday night.
I think we're going to learn a lot about those two teams. My hold is Luke Davies-Uniacke, LDU. He obviously missed last week. He was good again. He's predicted to get 1 vote on the weekend. Obviously, North Melbourne lost, but I'm going to hold on LDU purely because he's shortened actually just playing that one game. He got to $22, $23 last week when he had his week off. He shortened. I just want to see him have a couple of best on ground performances before doing anything there, whether we buy more or sell.
He can't win it.
He can't win it.
I don't think he can win it. I think he's unders at the moment. $20. I'd be laying the $23.
I don't think he can win it, but I definitely think he'll shorten more because he's having an absolutely amazing
He's an absolute
season.
jet. I just don't know. Can they win enough games for him to poll well? That's the concern.
We'll see what happens there. Hopefully, I'll be on top of that one in a couple of weeks. Who are you selling, Tom?
Richmond, the obvious. They've got some. I think Nankervis and Lynch are their 2 most important players. Maybe Dusty included in that trio, but they've got a tough draw. You mentioned they got Sydney this week. Sydney need to show something, and I think they'll try and bounce back. And then they got Melbourne the week after. I'm happy to be against them for all markets, top 4, top 8. I'm not sure how well they're going. I think Adelaide could have beat them in round 2. I'm just happy to be against them.
I'm selling Adelaide, Tom, and I know you were holding on them, but look,
So you're back in Carlton, are you?
Well, I'm selling Adelaide in terms of a top 8 perspective because they've got Carlton, which is, a 50-50 game on their home deck. We know how well they're playing. But they've also got Hawthorn next week, should be a win. But then following
Tassie, they're not easy beats in Tassie either.
No, they're not. They've got Collingwood, Geelong, St Kilda, and then the Bulldogs the next couple of weeks. Some of those teams form are going up and down, but Adelaide looks like they're going to have a tough few weeks, and a loss against Carlton won't do much for their confidence moving forward.
Grudge
also,
match Thursday night.
Crows match, yes.
Grudge.
Let's head over to talk about some betting strategies for this week. Have a look at some of the markets that we want to trade in and trade out of. But Tom, is there anything that you want to bet on the exchange?
Yeah, I'm happy to take Collingwood. As I said earlier, I think they'll beat St Kilda, and I think there's $1.50's a fair price. I'm happy to bet into that market, and I think I'll bet into them in the premiership market as well. And you can trade out later. I think they'll be a couple of points shorter. After beating St Kilda, if they lose, then I've done my money. But that's okay. That's what we do here. It's opinions game. I'm happy to be with Collingwood. I also, Paddy Cripps, as I said earlier, he's polled 11 of the last 6 games against the Crows. He dominates against them. Crows don't really have a matchup. I'll be backing him for the Brownlow now and with the aim to trade off later in the year.
I think there's still an opportunity to back Carlton for the premiership at this stage and lay off. I was predicting that they would shorten after a win against North Melbourne. But obviously that strong win by Brisbane, made them drift a little bit in the market, which is interesting. But yeah, as we said, they've got Adelaide, St Kilda, West Coast and Brisbane in the next few weeks. So if they're winning, at least four out of those 5, I think they're going to shorten definitely for the premiership. The other one is lay Adelaide top 8. I think they've gotten to their shortest point.
Can you ease up on the Crows, please, mate?
I think they've gotten to their shortest quote. Happy to lay them off now. Tom, another good show. Is there anything else you want to?
I haven't given any lays this week, but I'm happy to be against St Kilda. I might lay them and back Collingwood.
Anything you want to, without notice, anything you want to hear out of social media? Any questions for everyone? Do you want to get some insight maybe into the rising star market? Can anyone outside Harry Sheasel and Will Ashcroft win the award?
I want to know if Dacos is value at $6.20.
Okay.
That's what I want to know. Are we with him? Does he poll as well as everyone thinks? Is he as good as everyone's saying? Because he does get 10 possessions a game from full back. So are we overhyping him? I'd love to know that.
Great question, Tom. I love that without notice too. You're a true professional. Thank you, everyone, for another awesome edition of Trade Talk. We'll see you next week, and hopefully, we get the results that we want in the gather round this week.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.